So welcome everyone. For those who have not really engaged with viSHEbility, we are a platform that are working really hard to improve the outcomes for Black women in the marketplace through inspiration, coaching, and community. This is one of our community initiatives since we started the tribe about 6 or 7 weeks ago. And as part of the viSHEbility tribe, which is a chat room on Telegram, we have a ton of initiatives that we do. So whether it is our table topics for the month, and this month it is confidence we've been talking about, and getting sort of past your fears, to career conversations is the first one that we're having, the webinars of which we're going to have one at the end of the month. And so these are some of the things that we do to really help to equip and empower the women in our tribe to really just, believe in themselves and go out there and just take the world by storm. And so this evening, we are joined by Rebekah K, who is an experienced chartered accountant who's working in financial services. She's currently working at a FTSE 100 asset manager called ICG, and she's a finance business partner. Prior to this, she was working at KPMG as a senior management consultant. She has her hands in different pots and serves both as a trustee within a couple of charities, as well as within a community, some organizations doing great work, supporting mentorship and just sort of bringing people up. So welcome, Rebekah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So
thank you for having me.
Well, of course. I'm super excited. So we'll start as we do, right at the top, with just who is Rebekah? How would you describe yourself? What do you do and all that good stuff?
Sure. Well, again, thanks for having me, Mary and Panache, for organising this. I've been quite honoured to be the first one. I would start by saying this is such a great initiative. Really excited to be part of it. I think this is needed and it's an amazing idea. I credit a lot of my success at work to being a member of 100 Women in Finance and a lot of senior women in leadership programs. So to everyone else, never underestimate the benefits of these networks and connections that you'll make in these groups. Never underestimate it. You'll find little gems. Not everything might be for you, but you'll definitely find something that you can take away into your career as a whole. So as a brief intro. So about me. So I am a chartered accountant. I qualified in the UK at admitted firm. And then I worked for some boutique investment banks, HSBC in Canary Wharf for a short period. And then I took a leap of faith and I moved to Bermuda after newly qualifying. This was back in 2011, I want to say. And initially I went over to Bermuda to work for KPMG. So every year they take on new cohorts of new qualifiers from all over the world. There's about 40 of us that join. All of the big 4 do that in Bermuda. And I guess what incentivized me to go there was, one, how much tax I realized I was paying at a junior age. And I was like, well, how is anyone ever supposed to do anything? How am I ever supposed to increase my tax bracket, increase my take home, buy property if I'm being taxed left, right, and center? So that was maybe one of my primary incentives. And also the reason why I went into accounting in the first place was because numbers are universal. I actually studied law at university. I went to Queen Mary and I studied law. So I have a law degree, but I was thinking that if I did law, I'm kind of restricted in terms of which jurisdiction I get to live in. Whereas numbers, I can go absolutely anywhere. So this opportunity came across. Well, actually, the idea came to me first. And then within the space of 2-3 months, I found the opportunity and I was gone. So from July, I was like, I want to go to Bermuda. September, I was in Bermuda.
Nice.
So it was quite quick. And initially, I was there on a 2-year contract. And I think one of the major turning points for me was in my second year, where I was like, I wanted to, well, it didn't even cross my mind that I could get promoted to manager, from a senior to a manager. It didn't even cross my mind, but I had a woman who I used to work quite closely with, and she was my manager at the time. And again, I definitely would say this was a real turning point in my mindset towards work and towards what I could achieve at work, when I was doing my year-end review, and I must have given myself an average rating. And she was like, why the hell have you given yourself an average rating? do you know, and I'll just use the name John just to throw it out there, do you know John has rated himself this, but compared to him, you have done X, Y, and Z, and you haven't even pointed any of that stuff out. Do you know how much? And I feel like that was really turning point for me, because I then just stopped underplaying my achievements. And I think women always do that. We tend to underplay what we've achieved, whereas men are very happy to overemphasize what they've done. So I think that was key to me, and I've kind of taken that with me since then. So yeah, I was promoted to manager, so I stayed on for another couple of years, and then I was made senior manager, and I was on a really big client that was a private equity fund based in New York. I was traveling all over the place, all over the US, all over the UK, the islands, etc. Such a really great experience, and I was actually, I wanted to travel. I've always wanted to travel, and it's one of my kind of things. I do travel a lot, and I always wanted to take a sabbatical. And you know, I had money in the bank, and I had a good job, so I was like, let me just take some time out and see where I want to go with this. And they were like happy to let me go for a year. And they're like, your job will be waiting for you when you come back. They paid me, always get paid. I don't care how good you tell me I am, always get paid. They paid me, and I went traveling for a year. And then
they paid you what, like an actual salary for you to be out of the office?
No, they gave me a bonus. They gave me a really good bonus. I guess it was half incentive for me to come back, and obviously because of the work I achieved up until that point. So yeah, that bonus I used, and I went traveling for a whole year. I did not work. I went to 20 countries, I think. I learned Spanish, went all over the place. And that was amazing. But I kind of had one of those epiphany moments in Bali. And I decided that I actually wanted to come back to London, because in Bermuda, you're an expat. You're always an expat. You can't really buy property unless you've been there for 20 years and really have contributed to the economy. I could have stayed there forever, but I think while you're still young and single, which I am, it's, for me, London was like a bit of a fit. And I feel like I could afford London now. So I could afford to buy somewhere. I could be picky in the next job that I wanted to get. Which I was very picky. But again, another kind of takeaway was, you know, the fear of, I could have gone back to my job and been secure, or I could have come back to London and see how the market was and what kind of jobs I could get. But I guarantee you, well, I had someone do my CV for me. I paid someone to do my CV. And then two, I put it on eFinancial. The first recruiter that called me, I put it on Sunday. The first recruiter that phoned me on the Monday and showed me the job spec, that was where I've been since. So that's 2 years since that happened. And another thing that I would point out was before I put my CV onto eFinancial, I had 5 key things that I definitely wanted from the new job. And it was, you know, the people. Before I left London, I found it a struggle. Well, not a struggle, but, you know, it just wasn't a nice environment. I found it quite like aggressive, and people just you don't really gel with people. When I moved to Bermuda, it was such a friendly and nice environment, even with professionals working hard, etc., that I wasn't prepared to compromise on that when I came back to London. Okay. And I think I've been quite lucky since that the people I work with are really nice. We do get along. It's not like a cliche, but yeah. So I think I had main points that I needed for the job, and obviously pay was one of them. So I feel like I didn't compromise on those things for the job that I went for, and yeah, it's been quite good so far. So good.
What were the others? You said 5 things. So
yeah, definitely people. Well, pay was up there. Was the first one I'd say. I had a number. I wrote down that number, and I definitely got that number and some. So that was non-negotiable. The environment. So the people that were interviewing me, it was important that I didn't feel like they acted with a superiority complex or just an aggressive environment, and just was not interested. Obviously the location and how quickly I could get to and from work. The title, I didn't want to go down in grade or title or whatever from what I was, from a senior manager. I didn't want to go down, and also the flexibility. So I work from home I chose to work from home 1 day a week. And, you know, again, if you don't have kids, sometimes people are like, why do you want to work from home? And I was like, because I just want to. Because I just want to. I just want to work-life balance. I don't want to not like going into work. So, yeah, and they were very accommodating to that. So.
Great. No, thanks for that. Like, you actually put us a little bit of a journey, how you started, and sort of your geographical move, which is definitely something I wanted to chat a little bit about. But then that story about getting paid a bonus to travel, I need to explore that somehow. Like, cause honestly, a sabbatical is very high on my list. So as you think about your journey and your career in particular, like as a Black woman in the workplace, has anything necessarily stood out for you, you know, whether positively or negatively about that, like race and gender in the workplace?
Yeah, I'll be, I guess, candid. I feel like if I was to start with the negative, I feel like early on in my career, the negative probably stemmed a lot from within myself. And I say within myself, but obviously I'm a product of everything else that goes around me. I grew up in London, and, you know, all the kind of little things that you hear, that does, whether you realize it or not, it does impact how you then face the world. So when I was in the workplace, I would shy away. I wouldn't speak up. I would let people just say any odd, mad thing, just roll with it because I wanted to keep the peace. Whereas as I've progressed in my career, I've found my voice, definitely, and I definitely use my voice as and when. But I enjoy being a Black woman in the workplace. I enjoy walking into a room and being the youngest looking one, maybe not the youngest one, but definitely the youngest looking one, and the only woman and the only Black person. I kind of thrive on that. I enjoy it, and I use it to my advantage at any given opportunity. And I feel like a lot of young Black women need to understand the power that we have, and kind of drown out the noise of everything else that surrounds us, because it is a power that we have, and we do enter a room and we do command. Without even saying anything, I feel like people will just be intrigued. Maybe they're like, what are you doing here or whatever, but we do stand out, and we should use that to our advantage every single time.
Nice. And like, as we've been talking about confidence, obviously, on the chat room, are there specific things that you do, like in terms of habits, that help you build and keep your confidence?
Yeah. So that's one of the things I always try to, again, speak to young Black women, is relationships. I feel like are very key, very important. I feel like you can be smart, and of course we all are smart. You can learn stuff, you can, etc. But the cherry on the top, the icing on the cake, the thing that makes you stand out is to have a relationship with people. And that's why some men have been very successful in their lives, because they know how to like go for beers, go for drinks, play golf. And I'm not telling everyone to go for drinks, play golf. I don't play golf. I'm not interested in golf. But I will talk to you like a human being. I will ask you, like, how's your weekend? Not out of force, but because I'm genuinely interested. I will ask you about your holiday. I won't ask you about your kids because I'm not interested. But I'll ask you about stuff that I'm interested in. And then we'll have, like, it's about building a connection and relationship with people. We're not aliens. We're not worlds apart. And maybe it comes from the fact that I have traveled a lot and I've seen how people take to you. And sometimes you may prejudge someone yourself because of your own past experience, but allow that person you've met to win you over or not. Like, don't go in there thinking, oh, they're going to judge me. No, allow them that fresh start that you would want someone to give you as well. And I feel like relationships with people, and everything else falls into place. So like, I can walk into a room and not know everyone and know one person, but because that one person knows me and is like smiles when they're happy to see me, I'm again energized to then face everyone else in that room.
And that's actually a really, really good angle. Yeah, so like focusing on getting to know people genuinely, so they get to see.
Yeah.
Good. No, I like that. So one of the things that was, super interesting when we started, chatting, was around the work that you do with young people, I guess, with ThinkForward. Can you tell us a little bit about what ThinkForward is, and then how and why you got involved with it?
Yeah, ThinkForward is actually a really, really amazing organisation. They work in inner city schools in London, and really, really inner city school London. Like the first thing they showed us when they were introducing them to our firm was what the students see when they're on their way to school, and it, you know, really like, you know, garbage or just things that will put your mind in a negative space already. So when they come to my office, ICG in the city, they might not be used to, one, being in the city, and two, obviously being around like something shiny, being around people in suits all the time. It's not what they see. So yeah, I got involved because, one, my firm we have a partnership with the charity, so we provide funds to the charity as well as mentorship. So I definitely always wanted to get involved with it when I heard about it. And again, I think that it's very important that I make myself visible to other Black and ethnic minorities. I think it's very important, even though I do not like, I don't like being in the spotlight. I don't really like public engagements, but I do feel like it's my kind of duty to make sure people do see me as someone, you know, I'm a Black woman, and I think it's important that people do see me in that professional space. And, you know, visibility, you can start to vision it for yourself. So it's another reason why I chose to get involved with it.
Oh, nice. I'm just picking up on, definitely, in fact, the entirety of viSHEbility, and why we started was that was like, I felt that, you know, people needed to see more Black women, you know, doing whatever they're doing, the everyday women who are in the world that they were in. So I'm totally in for that. But as you think about your career and how have you like specifically tackled your visibility in a way that would not just empower others, but also empower you?
Yeah, so I have this saying, or this saying that I feel like, again, a lot of women in the workplace in general have this thing of putting their heads down, tails up. So like, they're like, I'm just doing a good job because I'm working all the hours and I'm churning this stuff out. And I'm like, okay, fine. But if you're an importers can be replaced. If you're just churning stuff out, importers can be replaced. Again, what can't be replaced is when people see you and get to know you and get to like you and get to like your personality and your nuances, etc. So sometimes coming out of your comfort zone to maybe, you know, do a presentation or, you know, be involved in an office, I don't know, the social committee or one of the committees. Be involved. Let people see you. If you can, I don't really like networking events, but if that's your thing, go to networking events. So don't just be the person that is just churning stuff out. I'm sure you do a great job, that's fine. But the only person anyone is going to advocate for you is if they actually know you as a human being, as a person, as someone in the office. So if John is doing the same work as inputs as you, but John then goes to, I don't know, again, have drinks or coffee or whatever, then he's just going to stick to their mind more than you would. Unfortunately, that is just, we are humans, and we have to find a way to connect with people.
Right. So just basically find a way to get in front of people so that you're confident.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that you should go play golf or do things that you don't want to do. It has to be authentic. So something that you're interested in, even if you're getting involved in the Black and ethnic minority community at work and they have a committee, do that. Or the women's network, do that. If there's sports, anything along those lines.
But is there a point in your career when like visibility should be more important, or, you know, because sometimes there's it's a bit of a balance, in particular now with social media, like like my boss is on my social media, so he knows like right now I'm here. That's just an agreement that we've kind of had, because I've said to him, the only reason why work works for me is because I get to do this. If you take this away from me, it knows like there has to be a balance. But I'm also enough to do that. When I was more junior, like it just felt like it is that, you know, head down, tails up. Is there, so like, as you've thought about it, do you feel like there are phases when you should focus on visibility, or is there really a point where you should just put your head down and tails up?
Well, yeah, definitely do the work, you know, definitely definitely do the work, you know, be that person that knows something more than someone else. You have to know everything, but know something more than someone else. So it's not all just about being visible. So I think when I first joined KPMG, I was definitely, churning, I was putting in the hours, etc. Fine. But I think the turning point was when I started to make myself more visible to partners and managers, etc. After I had that conversation with my manager at the time. So yeah, definitely do the work. But then obviously I do think at any stage you can be involved in something. My firm, they're very discreet. We are a FTSE 100 company. We manage 42 billion AUM. So we're like the biggest company you've never heard of. Like I never heard of it before the recruiter told me about it. So we're very discreet. We don't advertise anywhere. We won't, like KPMG is plastered absolutely everywhere. You will never hear about our company. So even for me to speak at events, I'm like, I can't really put my company name because they just never want to be so even on social media, it's like I don't, on LinkedIn or anything, I don't really have anything associated with my work. So that's kind of a nuance. Whereas KPMG, they really want you to put your face out there to clients, speaking events, etc. I would say one of kind of the big, I think, shifts again was when I was in 100 Women in Finance, and we would put on big conferences, and I would like speak at the conference. And I feel like my part, because like the senior women, CFOs of different companies, I would be networking with them because I was in these conferences, and then they would speak to my boss and be like, oh yeah, I met Rebecca. And then, I think that definitely helped to increase my profile a lot in that regard. So depends on where you are, but I do think there's different ways you can make yourself visible in at any stage of your career and in any type of business.
Nice. You mentioned 100 Women in Finance a couple of times, so let's sort of delve in that. So you are their trustee.
I was not anymore.
Not anymore, but can you tell us a little bit about that organization, and also any other organizations that you kind of serve with, whether in board capacity?
Yeah, so I was on the board of trustees or the committee for 100 Women in Finance. So that was the Bermuda chapter, and they were just coming on the island for the first time. Obviously, 100 Women in Finance is a huge organisation. The Duchess of Cambridge is a patron, so it is a big established charity, and I think it started off in the States, but the one in the UK is huge as well. It used to be the 100 Women in Hedge Funds. Now it's 100 Women in Finance to encompass all industries. I haven't really been too involved in the one in London, I'll be honest. But when I was in the one in Bermuda, I did find it a great way to meet a lot of senior women in different industries. And because I'm in a business where we were selling and trying to win clients, that was a really great way for me to meet those senior women who make those decisions. So I was a treasurer for them, and we put on really big galas and we fundraised, and it was a really exciting time. I really loved being part of that, and I feel like that also introduced me to we put on a conference, which was a Women in Leadership conference, which was, I think, it was another huge event that we had for an island to have like 300-400 people to come. That's pretty huge, and the fundraising that we did as well for different organisations was an output from the conferences, as well as other connections we can make. And I felt those two roles. I'm currently a trustee on the London Music Masters, which is a London-based not-for-profit, and they're about musical excellence in inner city schools in London. We're actually branching out to the whole of the UK, but I recently got appointed as trustee to the board of that, and it's an established board, so it's really good experience for me. And again, I'll use the relationships, because as an established charity, it's got OBEs, MBEs, MPs on the board, and the reason why I came onto the board or knew about the board is because my former CFO is also the co-chair of trustees, and again, he was able to speak to me and speak of me when I was going through the application process.
Great. Well, awesome. So being a trustee, and it feels like something that maybe feels slightly out of reach for a lot of people, but actually I wanted to understand from your perspective, like, how do you get visibility of, I know you just talked about like networks, but is there another way to like maybe more organically find trustee opportunities and follow that up? And actually, what do you do in your role as a trustee within the board?
Yeah, I think the main thing is to first start with what you're interested in and what you care about. So if it's children, if it's animals, if it's organisation in certain parts of the world, definitely start with what you actually care about. And then it comes from a point of genuine interest, like how much you want to help in that organisation. You might just start just volunteering for anything that they do. And then I think when you, again, make connections within there, you can kind of, depending on your experience, they always want, remember, you're a volunteer and you have experience that they could use. You know, you're helpful to them, you're helpful to an organisation. If you've done X, Y, and Z and you're offering that to them for free, you know? So it's a two-way street. So don't just think that you're taking from them, you're actually going to be given and you're an asset to them as well. But yeah, definitely find something you're interested in, find a way to volunteer or be involved, and then see what other kind of opportunities you can get in terms of moving into a board position.
Yeah, no, I really like that. Nice. And so when you're thinking about your journey, what moments really stand out to you as, you know, like really game-changing moments, as you think, whether in terms of like helping you decide like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm in the right career, I'm in the right place, or helping you just, I don't know, change your mindset about something? Is there something, is there a moment that stands out, or a person, or, you know, something?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like for anyone in their career, they always have that moment like, am I doing the right thing? But I feel like it's important to know what you want to get out of every role you do. So whether it's you want to earn X amount, you want to get experience in X, Y, and Z, or you want to be exposed to X, Y, and Z. So definitely know what your like you would pick for, I don't know, where you want to live or where you would send your kids to school. What are your non-negotiables, right? And then as long as you're moving one of those forward every day, one foot in front of the other, then I think you kind of know you're in the right space. But never just feel like a job is doing you a favor, right? You're an asset to them. It's not just a one-way street. They're not just paying you to be there. You're there to get whatever you need to get out of that first. So I think I definitely discovered that while I was at KPMG. So it's a different country, so it's far away from my family, friends, whatever. But I had to really understand why I was there, and it was, you know, for the career progression and to get paid. So those are kind of my incentives along the way. So that's what I leaned into every time. I was like, is this the right thing for me? And with the job now, you know, I like the flexibility I have, and I like what they offer me, and I do like the people that I work with. So that keeps me there, even if I have recruiters knocking on my door. I'm just like, I like to weigh up why I'm here doing what I am versus what I'm trying to get out of something else. So kind of have your non-negotiables, and as long as you're every day working towards one of them, I feel like you know you're in the right space, no matter what else is going on around you.
Yeah, I really like what you said. I think sometimes we try to come up with really philosophical reasons why we're somewhere, and sometimes it's just the basics. Like, I wanted to move up in my income, and you know, and I say this all the time. Like, the fact is, if you've been somewhere for a really long time, it's highly likely that you're being underpaid, and the only way for you to move up to the layer you want to is to actually just leave. And that's the only reason. You may have to just bite the bullet and make that move for 2 years and come back to the other firm, but in a completely different
Yeah, exactly. And I see it all the time, especially at my firm. People leave all the time and come back. Different titles entirely.
So it's not always like, oh, this is the perfect role, and sometimes it's just a very strategic reason, because ultimately, you know, people say life is short, but careers are long.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna be here for a long time. Wow.
So you might as well check out for like a couple of years and, you know, move from, you know, earning 5 figures to earning 6 figures, and then, you know, come back. Like, you can afford to take out that year to go and do something interesting. something that I'm really, 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 really thinking about right now. Taking like that year.
Yeah, we're gonna talk. I would encourage anybody. I'll tell you, I think I've probably taken like 3 sabbaticals in my career. Yeah, 3.
Maybe that's why Rebekah's skin is fresh. My own skin. Because I'm like, I would take time off, taking 8 weeks off in my entire.
Oh, take the time. Take the time.
14 years. I need to definitely I'm at the point where I'm like, it's about that time.
Yeah, I had a friend tell me, and this is probably what I was thinking when I was like, oh, do I want to go back to this job that I already know and, you know, it's great, or do I want to try something new in my own? She's like, your works, as in your smarts, your person, is always going to follow you no matter what. So as long as you are comfortable and confident enough in your abilities, you can take that into any role. You can take that into anything, because your works doesn't leave because you left the job. It's you are the person that created that or did whatever you did there. So you can go do that somewhere else.
I think one of the things I'm really getting is just like, you know exactly the value you're bringing to the table. You're very aware of it. You can communicate it, and you're confident. And I think that really is going to serve you really well. And so, as you think about, like, you know, your 16-year-old self, is there is that something you would like advise, like now, like having lived through it? Like, what would you go back and actually tell that person?
Oh, my 16-year-old. So I feel like I have no regrets. I always feel like I have no regrets. I feel like I've done everything to get to blah, blah, blah. Everything served its purpose. But I probably would have been more ballsy in going for more of a client-facing, well, not audit. I started audit, advisory, etc. But I would have gone more on the deal side of things, I think I wasn't exposed enough to that, and I didn't know enough about it. Whereas now in my role, I deal a lot with the deal team, and I'm very much involved in like the strategy of it now. But I wish I had the confidence to have done it before. If I was telling my 16-year-old self, I would definitely have gone more in terms of like the advisory route early on.
Did you make a choice later on? Like, did you make an intentional choice to move into like that type of role?
Sorry, say that again?
As you were going through your career, so I'm guessing you didn't start in advisory, but did you then make an intentional choice to move into advisory? Or
yeah, I didn't even know anything about it, to be honest. It's like I did law at uni because everyone said do law, fine. And then while I was there, one of the girls I was at uni with, she was like, I'm going to be a chartered accountant. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool. I'll just do it as well.
Yeah.
I literally I don't think I knew anything about it. And then while I was at KPMG, like one of my clients evolved into doing like deal due diligence and IPO readiness, and I kind of like evolved through time. But again, I feel like if I'd known back then, I probably would have forged a career in that route instead.
Yeah.
So it's one of the girls I spoke to from your group actually, who's deciding whether to go into the Big Four and do audit or advice. And I was like, stick to the advisory route.
Right.
Thanks. I definitely don't feel. Sorry, you broke up a little bit.
For everyone.
To go down the advisory route.
Yeah.
So you said, is it for everyone? Yeah, why not? If you're wanting to work in financial services or you're interested in finance, then go down the deal route because they get paid more, and it's not like they have 5 heads. They don't. You know, you could definitely do it. I just feel like the safe route and the more like exposure route is the audit side of things. So you go and you become a chartered accountant, and then you try to fight your way into advisory at the end. Where it's a narrow window. It's a very narrow window to go from being an accountant to working in more of the deal side of things. Whereas if you've done it from the jump, then like if you did the CFA or any of the other qualifications around that, if you were interested in financial services, I would definitely say if you're going to go for a Big Four, get on the advisory side of things would be what I would tell my 16-year-old self. Not that I regret becoming an accountant. don't regret that at all. But if I was to go back in time, I would have done that.
Yeah. Okay. So we've only got, where are we? I do want to take some questions, and I see we've got like 20 minutes more. But I wanted to talk, because we are girls, and so we have to talk about girly things a little bit. So I want to talk about career and life, like balancing relationships and family and friendship and the demands of work and all of that. So what does that actually look like for you? Because I get this question all the time. In particular, as I said, you come off as a really confident person, all of that great stuff. Do you get hit with the, oh, she's intimidating points? Do you find it easy to meet people? Like, what does that actually look like? And are there seasons in your life where you actually should just do like work and stuff you want to do and then leave relationships, or should you always try to balance it out?
Oh God, I wasn't ready for that one.
For that one, so yeah, putting you on the spot a little bit.
Okay, so I'm no longer in my 20s. I just throw that out there. But in my whole 20s, I feel like I always had a boyfriend. Good, bad, ugly. But I feel like I always had a boyfriend. And the peaks and troughs, whatever goes through them. But one thing that I've always maintained is that I'm never going to be reliant on any man for anything. Whether that's the good way to go about things or the bad way, it's worked for me. And I've just always stayed true to that. Now I'm in my 30s, I would say that I feel like I've come into I'm like a phoenix coming out of the fire. Like I feel like guys are everywhere. I feel like guys are absolutely everywhere. Grocery store, airport. Just guy. I have no problem meeting guys, but quality guys is obviously a different story. I feel you can be successful, you can be an alpha at work, you don't have to be an alpha in every other aspect of your life. So if you want to take a back seat, and that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm kind of like, sometimes I don't even tell guys what I do for a living. I literally play it down so much. I'm just like, oh, and I'm super impressed by what they do. I'm like, wow, you've done that? Oh my God. And I'm just like, oh, I work in finance, nothing exciting. And that's
doesn't that mean, like, are you owning your success, like being your
yeah, I feel like I feel like I've come from I feel like before I always felt I had to kind of again, because I feel like I look young and I'm a woman, and maybe again from past being a Black woman, I feel like I've always had to over kind of sell myself, whereas I don't need to do I don't feel like I need to do that anymore. And that's kind of maybe being in my 30s. I just feel like I don't need to prove anything to anybody whatsoever. So I do like to play it down a lot, and I find that quite an interesting space to be in. I'll let you know if it works out, but for now, that's what I'm doing.
But great. No, look, guys, like air claps for Rebekah. I think that was great, great conversation. Right, so I'm gonna ask a long list of questions from Jessie here, who's asked you quite a few things. So let's see how we get through them. So Jessie asked, what mistakes have you made starting out that you wish you could have avoided?
I wish I'd known early on that I had a voice and I had a power at work, instead of just, I used to think, I don't know why, I used to think that certain guys who went to private school, white men, I used to feel like they were so much more superior than I was. And that is unfounded. That literally comes from nothing. The reason I feel like I learned that when I was doing my ACA. So like we'd be in class and the guys would be like, I didn't go to private school, right? I went to a grammar school. So all the private school guys would be like talking, answering all the questions, blah, blah, blah. And I'd feel super intimidated. And then it'll come to, we used to have tests in the class, and then they put us in quartiles. And then I was like, why am I the one that's always in the top quartile when I'm the one that feels more intimidated and never speaks up? And then I realized it doesn't really matter, like, just because they sound better than me or act more confident than me. It doesn't really equate or equalize to who's smarter or who knows more. So I think that was quite a big, important learning curve in my trajectory. But yeah, just owning who I wish I had known who I am now when I was younger.
Yeah.
But you know, it's growing pains, what happens. And I feel like whoever's scared about 10 and 30, you don't know what you're looking for. You got a lot to look forward to, mate. Being 30 is like, it's good times.
What do you see, like, you know, in the next year, you know, COVID allowing, next 5, 10, like what is in the horizon for you?
I guess career-wise, I'm being a bit aggressive in terms of what I want next, in terms of like pay, and I changed my title to a finance business partner, because that's just what I'm doing. And I work with a lot of heads of teams, so I'm going to be quite aggressive in terms of where they place me amongst the heads for next year. I say aggressive, but when I say aggressive, as in I'm making sure it's an agenda point every time I catch up with my boss.
And you're telling them what you want.
Yeah. It's not a secret to anyone. Anyone wants to hear it, I'll tell them. So yeah, I'm being quite aggressive about that. And I'm also going to be quite aggressive in terms of what I want to get paid next year. So not just a 3% rise, I want like a 20-25% rise. And that's kind of in my pipeline for next year. And then I don't know, I guess personal wise, I want to buy another property. I have like other investments I'm just working on. Men wise.
There's actually a question here saying, do you see yourself taking a break or slowing down to have a family? Genuinely curious.
Yeah. Do you know what? I feel like I have this debate with myself. Not debate, but yeah, I have a family. Yeah, definitely. As within the next 5 years, I'd say that's definitely on the cards. I think I need to be more intentional about it, which I'm kind of working through. I think I need to be more intentional, but I don't think it will slow down what I'm trying to achieve, like work-wise or any other wise.
Okay. A couple other questions. So any tips for someone starting out in their accountancy career, but looking to move into investment banking or advisory? And then the second question to that is, if you would go back in time, would you pick the CFA over the ACA?
So I guess the first one, if you've started already doing your accountancy, if you've started exams, etc., and then I would say finish them. I would say I would always encourage to go to a Big Four because there's so much scope into what you can move into. I would, definitely try get into a Big Four and try get into the advisory side of things or consulting side of things as early as you can, if you've already started. If you are not in going to the Big Four, if you're like in an industry already, just keep at it. There's so much you can do with accounting qualification. There's so much. It's not one route fits all. It just depends what you want to kind of get out of it. So if I was to tell my young self to do the ACA or the CFA, I would have done the CFA, to be honest.
But I guess that kind of is indicative of when you're talking about like deal doing and that type of thing. But yeah, I think to that, I always just say, like, follow your own path. Like CFA and ACA are not the same thing. They're actually completely different.
Exactly.
It's completely different. So they're not necessarily, I don't think they're an either or kind of question. I think it just depends on the pathway and the route that you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. And also make sure you I would encourage you to go somewhere where they are paying for it and giving you the time off. So it's like a graduate scheme or a training contract.
Yeah, that's so, because I did my ACA, but I was a banker. And so I didn't get time. So I was literally spending.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there wasn't a training contract. I was working like a regular banking hours, but I was doing ACA on the side. And yeah, for 3 years, I was studying like every vacation.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's so, honestly, I don't know how people do it because it's so full on. It's so full on, like the whole thing.
Now, so the question about your travel. So it says, do you take solo trips or go with friends and family. Usually seems harder to coordinate when others are involved, but having a lone lonely. So what are you?
Leave their asses. No, I I do a bit of both. So when I went traveling for a year, that was a solo travel. I did meet people along the way a lot, and they traveled with me to 5, 6, 7 countries. So number one, I didn't wait for anyone. I picked again what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. And if people wanted to join me, but I'm going to go anyway. You can meet people on tours all the time. I've met loads of people on tours. I did this thing called Unsettled. You can look it up. They used to do 1 month at a time in a different country. So I lived in Cape Town for a month in a house, a nice house in Camps Bay, but with other people from all over the world. And I made such good friends, and we went to Bali, Mexico, wherever. But yeah, it was definitely a solo trip. And even when I came back, before I started my new job, I was like, okay, well, since I got a new job, I told them I'll start in 6 weeks so I could go traveling first. And I went to, I can't remember, I think I went to Greece by myself, wherever. Anyway, so I've been Tokyo by myself. But again, Vietnam, like loads of random places by myself. But yeah, and since I've been back, I have been traveling with friends from London, of course, but definitely everyone knows that if I want to go, so I'm going to go, whether you want to come or not. And if you want to come, great, we're going to have a good time. But if you don't, then I'm going to do my own thing for sure.
Yeah, nice. Great. So yeah, there are definitely lots of organizations that that, like if you don't have friends, you don't have to travel with friends, but you can meet people. And
yeah, you can. Yeah.
Some of my really good friends now I met because I traveled solo to like Israel, and then we ended up on a bus together, and then now we like have a good chat that is still going.
Exactly.
Years on, we've all done Israel, and we're still really good friends. I think one of them is probably on this chat. I think I've seen her name pop up. I was on the phone there with another one, and it's just been 3 years, and we just all decided on our own without knowing each other to go to Israel with our church, which is Hillsong Church, and we went and we just met all of ourselves, and now we're all like really good friends, and we so definitely like take really.
Definitely. Don't be scared. If you need travel tips, ask me. But don't be scared as a young Black woman. Don't be scared to travel. You come across more good people than bad.
Yeah, no, that's great. So I'm going to take one. Great. So awesome. So with that, it's been a great conversation. I do want to end really quickly with just a really quick fire round. So as quickly as you can. Let's see. It's gonna be it should be interesting. How many questions I've got? Yeah, not that many, 8 or 9 or something like that. Okay, cool. So we're gonna wrap up with this. What's your favorite productivity hack?
Working out. If I'm not getting something to do, then I will do a workout, and then I will be 1,000 times more productive.
I like that a lot. Okay, what's your favorite color to wear to work?
Red.
Red? Fire. Nice. What's your favorite accessory?
A smile.
Oh, that's so nice. I wasn't expecting that, but that's nice. Shoes or bags, which would you spend more money on?
Bags.
Work from home or work from the office?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Instagram or LinkedIn?
Instagram.
Okay, good. If you were not doing finance, if you're not in finance, what career would you be doing? What would be your other career?
I'd be a dancer.
Really? But you dance on the side now? Like, do you actually do any dancing?
Yes, some sort of dancing.
Some sort of dancing. Okay. And who do you think is your greatest cheerleader?
My sister, for sure.
Okay, so with that, I want to thank you, Rebekah, for your time. Air claps, guys. That was amazing, wasn't it? Yay! And Rebekah is on the tribe, so we can continue the conversation on the chat room.
Yes.
I celebrate her for like sharing so openly and just being awesome. So thank you so much for your time, for being the first.
Thank you for having me.
Now, all the other women who are going to do this, the bar is really high, I think.
God, I probably shared too much, guys, but all for the tribe.
That's awesome. Great.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for joining. I'll let you get back to your evening. Enjoy a glass of wine. And yeah.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for joining.
Bye, guys.
Bye.